So one of the things that people do is like to predict the future. And as Carswell said, the trouble with predicting the future is it's really hard, particularly about things in the future. So one of the best things to do, and a great British broadcaster said this, is why do we look to the past to help us predict the future? We do that because there's nowhere else to look. There is literally no other decision-making to do. To that vein, I want to introduce a concept to you called an accession event. And an accession event is a point at which success, either individually or as a company or as an entire society, changes to the point where what was success in the past now becomes failure. The strange thing is, people see them in retrospect, never think they're going to happen to them or their industry, and happen all the time. So here's the idea. So that's a Panasonic 5A. I used to carry one of those around for my boss in 1986 when I was first at work. So while not carrying £100 fax machines, I was carrying £25 mobile phones. And that phone cost more than the car it was installed in, particularly if you used it. So phones evolved, didn't they? So here's the question for you. If I got in my time machine, which I don't actually have, but pretend I did, if I got in my time machine and I came back to you in, I don't know, back in the eons of, say, 2005, and I said to you, hey, I've got the best phone in the world in my pocket. That sounds very strange. In my pocket. Tell me 4 things you could tell me about that phone. And you would go, let's see, phones have got smaller and smaller. The batteries have got better and better. The things have become really indestructible. And there's only a couple of companies who make cell phones. So I tell you what I can make. I tell you what I can tell you about the phone from 2019. A whole 14 years in advance of the point where I meet you. You could say it be the size of a credit card. The battery will last a month. It will be indestructible. And Nokia will make it. And I'll say, no, actually, it's twice the size of your phone from 2005. The battery barely lasts a day. It's $300 to replace the screen. And Nokia's out of business. That'd be a bit odd, wouldn't it? So these things look really easy in hindsight. Hindsight is the best. It's foolproof. I know what happened in the past. It's the future that's the problem. So my parents, grandparents, my great-grandparents, owned a wheelwright business in London at the turn of the 20th century and did very well. They made wooden wheels for carts. If I turned around to them in 1900 from my time machine and said, you need to get out of the wheel business because you will be replaced in less than 20 years and you will be bankrupt, they'd look at you and go, something stupid. The wheel, the single simplest machine in the entire universe, you're going to replace the wheel? What are you talking about? And by the way, we haven't changed the wheel in 3,000 years. How are you going to, it's nonsense. And of course, Henry Ford came along, and instead of a wooden wheel, we got a steel wheel with a rubber tire. So none of the skill sets my grandparents had, or great-grandparents had, were applicable in the new world. None. As you can see, I don't come from a wealthy family, because I wouldn't be here if I did. Much as I'm enjoying this, skidoos are still better. You think, oh, that's obvious, right? If it's that obvious, what's next? Anyone? Airless tires. Is that really a development of the existing one? I'd argue it is. Electric car still uses tires. Floating on air. Who knows? Video conferencing, have you learnt nothing, people?